Hello and welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair, and I tell you what, I am an idiot. There is no question about that. Streaming and otherwise. Welcome to the show. We're so glad you're here today. It's going to be a lot of fun. Streaming Idiots is a lighthearted look, definitely lighthearted look, at the art and science of live streaming. It's a lot of fun. You make a lot of mistakes, right? The wife? Yeah. And it's even more fun when it's live. There's something about that live element that adds just a little tension, a little energy, a little synergy. And if you've got folks here that are watching in chat room, then they are definitely, they're giving me a lot of feedback here. They're mostly laughing. They're telling me the audio is too loud. So, you can turn it down on your end. How about that? If you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Periscope today live, come on over to easternshorebroadcasting.com because the chat room is there and you can see people make fun of me in the chat room. Most of the time they're well behaved. I think today is going to be one of those days where they just don't have a good day. And somebody's teasing me now saying no audio here because we had a problem in the pre-show with audio. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. It's going to be a great show today. I want to start out by telling you a little bit about today's setup. It's the same as last week, but if you're joining us for the first time or if you missed last week's show, let's take a quick look. I've got two PCs running. Got the PC in front of me, which is actually in a closet beside me, and I've got a couple of 24-inch monitors in front of me that are running vMix. Actually, vMix the beta, the version 18.0.0.52. It's a beta. It's an early beta version, but it seems to be pretty stable, and it's just squeaking by on hardly any petrol. It is being run on a second generation i7 2600K i7 that's overclocked slightly to about 3.95 from its native 3.2 or 3.4, whatever it is. The main drive's a solid state drive. There's a terabyte hard drive backup, 16 megs RAM. This particular setup has got a couple of Blackmagic Intensity Pros, the old ones, going to a pair of Canon Vixia, what are they? The Vixia HFR 100 is there, and the HFR 200 is there, and I've got another 100 up over here that's not hooked up right now. Great little cameras, got them used. They were hardly anything. People practically begged me to take them away, and they do a pretty decent job for less than $100 if you're looking for an HD camera paired up with an Intensity Pro card. And we're going to come back to this particular camera because Rich had sent us a tip on how to power this guy. We'll get to that in just a second. We're using the vMix built-in NDI. NDI is Network Device Interface. It's made by the company that made the TriCaster, the company called NewTek, and they are experts at transporting video from here to there, and they're doing it with very little latency, like millisecond latency. And so what we're doing is we're using the NDI to send this program feed to this laptop over here. Now, this is not just any laptop. It's an Asus Republic of Gamers. It's a gamer's laptop, so it's got an i7 in it. It's got it may have 16 gigs of RAM. I need to check. And like the other main PC, I forgot to mention, it has an NVIDIA graphics card. Well, that's part of the secret sauce, is the NVIDIA graphics card, because vMix offloads a lot of processing to the graphics card, and it allows CPU that might otherwise be marginal to do just fine with no problems. It's got a hard drive in it too. They're both connected to a gigabit switch, which again is part of the secret sauce, and so it's going to pass through. Right now it's sending about 80 megabits per second of data from the production PC to the second PC, which is the output of this program. That PC, that little guy over there, is streaming to YouTube and Facebook. This guy in front of me is streaming to Periscope and Twitter, and then that guy's recording 1080p. We're doing everything in 1080p, but we're streaming 720p. Have I lost you completely on that one? If I have, shoot me an email, tom@easternshorebroadcasting.com, and I'll review it with you. I also build custom PCs, so if you're in the market for something like that, I can talk with you about that. Let's see, what do we do? So that's the setup. Before I forget, I want to give a shout out to the folks that have subscribed to us on YouTube. I really do appreciate when folks subscribe because it's a compliment to me. Now, maybe you're just looking for some humor that you can laugh later, but that's okay. So hat tip to Trina and CGSO 101.7 FM, Roland, Adriano, Robert, Yoli, Mashani, Cat Pictures, Brad, Jose, Adam, Mr. Evan CA, Rofio, ISF Miami, Vaughn, this is interesting, Model Railroading University, and BTS Online. Those are the subscribers since last week's show. So I appreciate you guys subscribing. Love to have it. You'll get a little notice, and it will tell you that we are live or that we've uploaded a video. In today's case, we'll do both. This video, including the pre-show, which you have to go back and watch, and the post-show, which will come up after the show. All of that together, YouTube is recording at 720, and we'll retain that recording on our YouTube channel. But we will upload our just the show part, from the jaws that came in at the very beginning, the jaws of death. From that point forward, for about a half an hour to the end of the show, when the jaws close out again, that part will be recorded at 1080p and uploaded to YouTube also. So there'll be sort of two versions of the same show. The show, which is kind of the polished part, the part that we're supposedly doing now, will be its own entity, and then there'll be this 3-hour-long monolith over here that sometimes we remember to trim out the dead parts, sometimes we don't. Anyway, that can be a lot of fun. In just a minute, Martin Kay from Zen Video in Manchester, England, has sent me a great video where he talks about the work that he's done with Magewell and NDI. So we're going to get to that in just a second. But before we do, I wanted to tell you, November is kind of known, at least here in the States, as Black Friday month. That is the month after Thanksgiving when everything goes on sale for amazing prices. Well, Eastern Shore Broadcasting is having its own kind of little Black Fridays starting this Friday. So if you go to easternshorebroadcasting.com, if you haven't already done this, and sign up for our email list, it's in the bottom right-hand corner of the front page, we will send you a coupon for Friday's special deal. And it is a special deal for a Magewell video capture device. So if you're in the market for a Magewell video capture device, send me the email. You'll get the coupon. You can buy it in the store on Friday and receive it next week before Thanksgiving, definitely before Christmas. That'll be fun. So let's cue up Martin here. Martin has been doing a lot of work with Magewell cards for a long time. He comes from a video and audio background. And, let's just let Martin tell the story. Here we go, Martin. Take it away.
For anyone interested in the world of NDI software, and particularly if they happen to own a Magewell Pro Capture card, there's an example of a complete NDI sender program in the September release of Magewell's Pro Capture SDK. It's not a terribly elaborate program, but it does include all the basics that you need and is therefore quite a good example to start with. You can choose whatever capture cards you've got connected to the system. You can monitor the incoming video and the incoming audio. You can choose different resolutions to send at, and frame rates and color spaces. However, in this particular initial example, they've only included the NTSC 3060 frame rates and not the PAL 2550. But be that as it may, click on Start and you can see that it's picked up in an NDI monitor. So I thought I'd start with this program and then see if I could tidy it up a bit and add some enhancements. So my version is called NDI Zender. First obvious difference is that I've added a 16:9 aspect ratio. I've separated out the resolution, the color space and the frame rate. I've added in 25 and 50. And I got slightly fed up with the fact that it always monitored the audio at full level and there wasn't a volume control. So I've added a feature where you can have the audio on, or you can mute it, or you can just dim it and make it a bit quieter. It's also possible with this to monitor the additional audio channels if you happen to be running more than 2 channels of audio. And I've got another example program here. If we is this on? Stick it onto full. So we're listening to channels 1 and 2 at the moment. If we change this to 3 and 4, we get different tone, and 5 and 6 different again, and 7 and 8 different again. And it just happens they're all at the same level, but the meters are actually showing the level on each of those channels. And if you get fed up with it being full level, then hit mute and it will go off. So there are more things obviously that I can add to this, and it's very much a work in progress at the moment. I mean, it only came out in September and then I was at IBC, so I haven't had that much time to work on it. But what I will show you is another program that I'd already started doing before Magewell came out with this one. And the reason for that was to come up with a program that could be used with a quad input card, for example. So this one can have 4 inputs. At the moment we've only got 2 actual devices connected, so I'll just duplicate them a few times. But it does do 4 separate channels, and as you can see in the NDI receiver, they all come up with unique names. And one of the things that I added to this that I want to add to the other program is a set of input controls which are based on the hardware features on the Magewell card. So there are things that you can do using the onboard hardware, and they therefore don't take any CPU resources. So they're the things that you can access if you have a direct show control panel, but this doesn't use direct show, it's using an SDK directly. So for example, vertical mirror will flip the image upside down. If we select that one there, we can see the version of it. There are various deinterlacing options. There's aspect ratio conversion if you have to start with a 4:3 and then you want it converted into 16:9. You can choose whether it's going to be cropped or windowed. There are controls on the actual picture, so saturation will take it down to black and white or boost it right up, not in a terribly realistic way necessarily. Gain will increase or decrease the contrast, and lift is essentially brightness control. So there's some basic proc amp controls that are built into the hardware, so again, no CPU usage. There's also hardware crop, and that can be quite useful in 2 ways. Firstly, just to slightly reframe your shots. But if you're one of these people like me who uses cameras, micro four thirds cameras for example, with broadcast B4 lenses that are designed for 2/3 inch sensors and which therefore vignette without putting the doubler in, if anyone knows what that means, you can crop them at source, zoom in a little bit and lose the vignetting, and that's all done in hardware. So you actually end up sending the picture in that cropped form without having to do it in the subsequent application which is receiving the video. So the idea will be to include these features in the single program, and indeed to take the audio features that I haven't yet put into this Pro Capture quad input one and have the best of both worlds. So that's really where I'm up to at the moment. This is very much a work in progress. I will be making trial versions available via my website. And I've also got a series of other NDI utilities that I've been developing, which I will talk about more at another time.
And I think that another time is going to be really soon, because Martin has agreed just this morning to come on this show in December and talk some more about NDI and Magwell. It's going to be really, really interesting. Martin is a great resource, and we're really fortunate to have him in our midst. So thumbs up, Martin. Thank you. Rich, who used to be my friend, has does live streaming with the group called Pro Water Sports. They do jet ski races, and they go all over the U.S. doing jet ski races. And Rich is always, it's the old, desperation is the mother of invention. And he sent me a note the other day saying that he had found out, he uses the same cameras that I do, the Canon HF R100 series or R200s, R300s. And he has found a connector, a power connector that will plug into the cam. And he's doing it like an all-day kind of thing. He can't run on batteries. So he's found a connector, an electrical connector that will plug into the power socket on the camera, and on the other end of it is USB, i.e. he can plug into USB and get enough power to power the camera. Well, for him, that was just a lightning bolt, because he's already using USB power to power one of the converters that he's using at the camera end. And so what Rich has done is that he's got a remote camera, and it's got one cable going to it. And that cable is sending back the video signal to his PC, but it's a Siamese cable, so the second part of the cable is sending power over, which he converts to a, I think he's converting it to 12 volt, the old cigarette lighter connection, and then that converts to a multi, I guess it's just a multi-USB, and so he's got the converter for the USB for the camera, and then he plugs his converter for the video into that too, and he's running one cable. Now, Rich is going to be on the show November 30th, and so hopefully he'll have that he can show off at that point too. That's going to be a lot of fun. And Rich used to be a really good guy. He's been teasing me in chat. One of the other changes, and I think we mentioned this last week, and we'll just have a passing shot at it this week, is that vMix previously had been producing their own hardware systems, the vMix Go, the vMix U. There were some other versions of those in there, and they have discontinued that. I think the folks that manufacture it for them might still be producing them, but they're not going to be a vMix branded product like they were. And so what vMix has done is they've sort of opened up their book of secrets and said, okay, here's the guts of what we were producing, and they're calling it their reference systems, the vMix reference systems. And they produce that online, and you can go to vmix.com right now, and I think it's on their products page. You can see what the reference systems are. And they have selected certain resellers like Eastern Shore Broadcasting to build reference systems for folks that want them. So we're going to be building reference systems. In fact, there are three different ones. There's the Emerald, the Ruby, and the Sapphire. The Emerald is a four-port video input. The Ruby is 8-port video input with the high-definition instant replay. And then the Sapphire is 4-port input into a laptop. So, kind of three different levels, similar to the 3 levels that they were doing before. And so we're going to be producing the Emeralds and the Rubies. We don't build laptops, so we won't be doing the Sapphire at this point, although we may kind of bundle our Bolt 4 device. That's the Thunderbolt expansion chassis that has 4 ports of either HDMI or SDI video input over Thunderbolt. So we'll be stocking the Emeralds and the Rubies. starting maybe starting in December. We're not quite sure. It just depends on how soon we can get some put together and burned in, and it'll be kind of a ready to ship kind of thing. So if you're in a situation where all of a sudden you have got to have something tomorrow, they'll be ready for you. That's going to be a lot of fun to do. So that's that. We have wanted to give you an update on some of the projects that we've been going through. The update is not really much of an update. We've been building this. There was several years ago, like 1998, there was a device called the Stream Genie that was an all-in-one PC about this size that had a screen and a fold-down keyboard. And it would stream. It would live stream. It was way ahead of its time. It was $25,000 too, which is probably why it didn't do very well. Although $25,000 versus a $60,000 TriCaster, there was a market for it. Anyway, the company didn't make it. I picked up one of those off of eBay and have stripped the guts out of it, and I want to rebuild it with with modern day, not 1998 vintage, but modern day motherboard. CPU, RAM, video card, solid state hard drives, splatter drives as backups, and see if we can't make kind of a homebrew portable rig. It'd be a lot of fun. And we got hung up on that one a while back because the backplate for the motherboard did not come anywhere close to fitting in this little Stream Genie case. So we're going to have to get out the Dremel tool and do some cutting on the case. And that's where the project kind of went and kind of froze to a halt. But with the weather getting a little cooler down in South Alabama, maybe we can get out in the garage and finish up that project. It would be nice to do it and fun to do. The other project that we haven't made a whole lot of progress on was that, we have, but I think I've updated you on most of it. We're trying to find out how many PTZ optics PTZ cams can you put on a gigabit switch before everything crashes and burns and you have delays in the video. And we've gotten up to 4 so far. I need to get some more cams from my friends at PTZ Optics to try to finish out this test. I'm thinking we can get 10, but we're going to see. So I'll see if they'll send me some more. I think they call it their grade. They're B stock. That is things that were sent back and haven't yet been repaired or resold as used. So maybe they'll send me some B stock just to borrow. Don't want to keep it forever. Just want to borrow it. The other project I alluded to in the pre-show is the NDI vMix 4K project. Is the church near here that has a fiber network set up to some remote campuses 30 or 40 miles away. We want to see, they've got an 80 megabit network. We want to see how much data we can get on that network, what the resolutions would be, what the frame rates would be, and what the bit rate would be, and how much we can squeeze into 80 megabits. And then, and they think that they can flip a switch and pop it up to a gigabit network. If that's the case, we want to send some 4K over it and see how that does, and see, is it going to be that low latency, almost instant, so maybe, a third of a frame latency. That would love to see that, and so that'll be a real life test. We'll have at least the initial results tomorrow, and we'll have that on next week's show as to what we did there. And coming up next week, this is good. Coming up next week on the 16th, we'll be back on our regular Wednesday schedule. We'll have Martin Sinclair, the CEO of vMix, will be, he won't be here, but virtually he'll be here. He'll actually be in Florida here in the U.S. On some holiday, and so he's agreed to come on the show and chat with us. And he and I had a great chat the other day. One of the things that he mentioned is that vMix will be getting the new NDI version 2, and that has even lower latency and more stability and all sorts of good things going on with the NDI version 2. So that's going to be in the new vMix when it comes down the pike. He says that if you're running like an i7 6700K processor with a good video card, which is what they did on their last vMix Funtime live show in October, that they because remember they were running 4K cameras. They had 3 4K cameras to run at the same time, and they said they figured that each 4K camera added about 20%. No, excuse me. Let me rephrase that. Each NDI video feed that include at 4K resolution used about 20% of CPU. Now, the significance or the backstory to that is, unlike vMix, where a lot of things are dumped onto the GPU, the video card, for processing, the way NDI is schemed is that it uses CPU for all of the work that it does. So the bigger the bigger the video, when we go from 640 by 480 to 720 to 1080 to 4K to 8K, and we're sending that over NDI, that's going to require CPU horsepower to do it. So we want to kind of continue to explore and push the envelope and see, how many different 4K feeds can you get going on a quad-core processor? What about a 6-core processor? What about, remember we've got some of the problems that are popping up on some of the X99 systems with some of the graphics cards. So, there's some things to keep a lookout there. So anyway, that's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have Martin on next week. And he has also agreed to sponsor a vMix meetup. We're thinking about doing something next spring after NAB, perhaps in the Orlando area. So if you're thinking about, that was going to be like June of next year. If you're thinking about doing a Disney Universal vacation next year, look out for that, because it might be a good way to kind of pop in and get a little vMix time in too. And if it's what you do for a living, then you can deduct the whole show. But we're going to put together probably a 1 or 2 day meetup in the Orlando area. Martin will be there, and he'll have some goodies there and some giveaways, and we'll get to sit around and talk, and probably have some folks come in and talk on different subjects. So if you're thinking about visiting the U.S., that might be a good time to do that. Or if you're thinking about traveling for a Disney or Universal vacation, that will be June of 2017. We'll have some dates, hopefully pretty soon there. In addition to Martin, next week, the following week, which is Thanksgiving week, we won't be doing our Wednesday show that week. Sorry about that. We'll be doing a Monday show. But a Monday show steps on the toes of some other great broadcasters, and that's the whole crew of Giles and John and Martin and Merle, who have got the This and That show that comes on Monday afternoon. So I talked to Giles, and I don't know if he talked to Martin and John and Merle. Maybe he just made it an executive decision. But we're going to have a co-show. So put down on your calendar for November 21st. That's the Monday before Thanksgiving. There'll be a co-show between Streaming Idiots and This and That, and we'll just have to work it on out. It should be a lot of fun, and those guys are characters, so it should be a lot of fun. And then of course the last Wednesday in November, November 30th, Rich Ignacio with Pro Water Sports will be on to talk about his what was it? Ended up being 50 million views on his YouTube page for something he had recorded, and then all the other cool things he's doing. So November is going to be a really exciting month, and I'm glad you're around to be part of it with us. It's a lot of fun. Two things, and I think we've gone just a tad over time. Two things as we close out. One is a hat tip to my friends at Drew University in New Jersey. They have contracted with us to build them a super duper streaming PC to go with the marvelous acoustics in their concert hall. They have groups and orchestras and all types of individuals coming in to get recorded in their concert hall because the acoustics are so wonderful there. But they haven't had the equivalent video to match the audio excellence that they have. So they've turned to us to produce a PC, and we're working on that now, and we'll be sending that out to them pretty soon. And we'll basically, they'll be able to take their their high fidelity audio and pair it with video. They're actually using right now. They already have on hand a couple of PTZ Optics cams, and we'll hopefully be putting some more in there too, so they can have shots of all the different things going on, and then have this beautiful audio too. I was talking with George Price Sunday about audio, and I remember telling George, and I've had people say this to me before, I think audio is more difficult to work with than video is. Audio is tricky. It's deceptive because it sounds like it ought to it sounds like it ought to be really easy. It's just audio, but there's a whole lot more to it. So anyway, the folks at the concert hall at Drew University in New Jersey have figured out audio. Last thing is that coming up probably in January, we're starting a new show. The new show will be called Live Streaming Rookies. And so if you are just now getting into live streaming, and most of what I said today is like, what? What's he talking about? I don't understand. Live Streaming Rookies will be for you. This is where we're going to start out with some of the basics and grow on that, and then probably repeat that a couple of times. And my hope is that some of the regular viewers from this show will come on that show as guests to talk about their setups, how they got started in it, what it cost, what they're doing, how they're able to justify the expense if they're paying for it out of pocket, or how they're able to monetize it. That is, how they're able to basically get somebody else to pay for it. So that'll be a lot of fun. Look for that in January. Livestreamingrookies.com it'll be Live Streaming Rookies, and you can find it at livestreamingrookies.com. I think that's it. These are my show notes for today. Generally only have like 3 words written down, but when you get to be my age, you can't you can't make any assumptions. Oh, and during the pre-show, we had the little streaming guy out, so he was out there too. We've got him on hand. That's it. This, if you're waiting for the good part, you missed it. You missed it. Play the YouTube back, roll the YouTube back, and you can watch it again. Of course, that is the great thing about YouTube, is you can pull it back and watch it again. So if you got to the show at the very end and you said, "Oh, I missed it," just drag that little bar back. Actually, I guess it drags back this way, doesn't it? And you can watch it again and again and again. I'm just teasing. I'm being silly. Hey, I'm Tom Sinclair. This has been Streaming Idiots, which is, of course, a broadcast of Eastern Shore Broadcasting.com. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook, or just go to EasternShoreBroadcasting.com. You can sign up for the Black Friday coupons. You can find our Facebook page. You can find our YouTube page. You can find our Twitter page, all that kind of stuff, so that you can stay in touch with all the cool stuff that's going on there. So, behalf of me and all the crazies in the chat room, it's been a treat to be with you today. And we'll see you next week, next Wednesday, for Martin Sinclair. Take care. What a show. What a show.